Hello everyone, welcome to BISP Solutions. My name is Payal Makijani, your host for the evening. Today we're going to learn more about custom financial planning. In today's lecture, we're going to learn about advanced business rules related to trend analysis and capital expenditure. We will be using a trend function in a trend based on actual average trend. Before we start with doing the code, let's learn about what is trend analysis. Trend analysis is a technique used in technical analysis that attempts to predict future price movements based on recently observed trend data. Trend analysis uses historical data such as price movements and trade volume to forecast the long-term direction of market sentiments. It Trend analysis tries to predict a trend. And now, what is trend? Trend is a upstream or a downstream data um, which comes by analyzing the market. Okay, trend analysis focuses on three typical time horizons, that is short, intermediate, and long term. It is helpful because moving with trends and not against them will lead to profit for an investor and other stakeholders. It is based on the idea that what has happened in the past gives planners and business owners an idea of what will happen in the future. Right? So this is what trend analysis is, and now I'm going to show how do we do trend analysis in our planning in our PBCS application. Let's move on to our application. This is the home screen for our PBCS application. Click onto the navigator and go to dimensions. These are the members who contains the data for our planning application. Now first let me tell you our requirement. Our requirement for this trend analysis is that we want to forecast labor overhead for the period August, September, October, November, and December. We currently have data for the January, February, March, April, May. And let me show you the data first. Yeah. So when we talk about input, we currently can insert the data for the month of January, February, March, April, and May, June, and July, because this is our historical period, and we have to forecast the data for the next period. Okay, and what kind of data we need? We need this kind of scenario. Okay, so when we this is the for the simplicity and for the understanding purposes, I have divided a sheet into three. I have divided workbook into three sheets, that is input, trend, and output. I'll insert the input, the historical and the actual data in the input sheet, and I'll define the trend, what kind of trend I need. Then I will set a business rule, and then I will see what kind of output we can achieve. All right. So let's first do the mandatory prerequisites into our planning application. So what I have done right here is I have created revenue drivers. That is two things we need is trends and percentage increase and decrease. For trends, I also need a smart list which I have created by clicking onto the navigator, smart list, and this is my smart list. Let's see it inside what it is. Click onto the entries, and these are the three things I want in my smart list. Now what is smart list? Smart list is a drop down list which create an ease of choosing an option. Okay, I can I have three kind of a calculation right here. First is current year actual average, current month growth, forecast to current year plan. Here I will tell you about current year actual average, which will work through ID. These are the ID numbers 1, 2, and 3. All right. So let's move on to our dimensions. Account dimension, trend. When we see the member details of trends, we can see right here is I have attached the smart list here, trend smart list, save. Then I will move on to the version. I have here created an extra version named calculated. This is the version we will be working in. And now let's put the input into our sheet. All right. Let's give it 50,000 overhead in the month of January, 55,000 in February, 60,000 for March, 65,000 for April, May 70,000, 75,000 and 80,000. All right, now submit the data and refresh. Now what would be the average of all these numbers is 65,000, right? This is my average. Okay, now I have to create an I have to give average numbers to in our output sheet. So let's click onto the trend, and this is the smart list we are getting. Click onto that, submit the data and refresh. Now let's create a business rule. I have already created a business rule right here for trend analysis, which I'm going to explain right now. I have fixed the base data. This is my HSP view that I'm working in. Base, I have fixed the, I'm working on the base data HSP view. Okay, now fix I descendants of total department. We have to fix all other like department here, right? I want all the I want this business rule to work on all these departments right here. So I will fix the I descendants of total department. Then I descendants of MW. MW is my jobs. I have so many job right here. Sorry, MW is my jobs. Total jobs. Here I have fixed my total jobs. I children of total jobs. Okay. Then entity. MW is my entity. I want to work with 12,000 or 12,010. So I have fixed that. And then calculate. Now when we, this is the new version we created. If trends intersection with back balance dual equals to 1. The 1 right here is not a number, it's an ID we have given to the smart list. We have given we have three options in our smart list. So first option states number 1 right here. So that's why we have used dual equals to calculated. Now I have used a syntax right here, which I'm going to show. This is the average range syntax I have used, which you will have to remember while creating different business rule. So here I have uses average range, skip none. Financial year 23 is the year I am working with, and actual is my scenario. with intersection to my BU version, at the rate X range. X range is again a syntax you need to remember, which states the January to July, my period range in which my business rule is working, and I have given a formula into 1 plus increase decrease percentage with intersection with back balance with intersection plan, else calculated 0 end if and fix. I have just completed the business rule right here. I'm gonna paste this. Let's create this business rule in our application. Click onto the navigator, move to the rules, build shown, plan 1. Here we have rules. Now click onto the rules, new. Here let's write the name trend analysis. Okay. Change the business rule from designer view to edit script mode. Here I pasted my formula, business rule, validate and save. My rule has been validated with no errors. Deploy. Deployment is successful, and then launch the business rule. Okay. So here our trend analysis one business rule has been created. Now let's move on to our sheet. All right. We have given an input, submit data, refresh, then give trend. This is our smart list. Click on to the current year actual average, submit data, refresh, output. Now here in our output, launch the business rule. Launch, close, refresh. See what I wanted average of these numbers in my, that is 65,000. It was 65,000 in my forecasting sheet, that is output sheet, and I got that thing. Now if I want to check, I want to put a test that it does it match to the requirement of a client. Suppose this was a requirement where I wanted to give 65,000 as my output. Let's check if I have got that or not. See, now click onto the variance, and here we can see that there is a zero difference in my requirement and the answers my business rule created. So here I completed a requirement of trend analysis, and we can also suppose Suppose my client says that 20% increase in labor overhead will happen in near future. So how will I define my trend? I'll go to the trend sheet, and here I will give the 20% increment into my labor overhead and refresh again this 20%, submit data, refresh, and again run the business rule. Okay, close, refresh, and 20% increment has been done into our data. That is 65,000 was our earlier data, right? Average was our 65,000. I want to increase my data increment. by 20%. So 65,000 into 20%, 13,000, 65,000 plus 13,000 should be our answer, that is 78,000. And business rule creates the same answer as my Excel sheet creates. So we are this is how we do trend analysis in our PPCS application. Now let's move on further with our second topic for today, that is capital expenditure forecast assumption. What is capital expenditure? First, capital expenditure are funds used by a company to acquire, upgrade, and maintain physical assets such as property, plants, business, technology, or equipment. CapEx is often used to undertake new projects or investment by a company. Making capital expenditures on fixed assets can include repairing a roof if the useful life of the roof is extended, purchasing a piece of equipment, or building a new factory. This type of financial outlay is made by companies to increase the scope of their operations or add some future economic benefit to the operation. Alright, so here we're gonna do the capital expenditure planning, right? So let's move on to our application. Accounts, financial accounts, balance sheet, assets. These are our fixed asset in which we're gonna calculate the depreciation. When a company does a capital expenditure, when a company does a capital expenditure, it incurs a huge expense for that capital expenditure for that asset. It does not write off all the expenses in 1 year. It usually divide that particular expense into the useful life of asset, that is called depreciation. Now uh, depreciation is calculated by depreciation or amortization is created by two ways, that is by straight line method or WDV method. Okay, here we're gonna learn about straight line method in brief. Okay, so what is straight line method? Straight line method calculates depreciation as its formula is um, cost of asset less salvage value divided by useful life of asset. Okay, so this is the straight line method, and but by straight line method, we gonna create um we gonna create we gonna calculate the depreciation um, of all the asset we have in our application. We have machinery and equipment, no non-core equipment, shop tools, furniture and fixture. When we when we will put on the expenses in these cells, the depreciation will automatically calculated through business rule. Now let me show you what business rule I have created. Here I have created a business rule where I have fixed the base data, and I have fixed the scenario, which is plan, my version, BU version 1, the entity 10,000. Here I am working with 10,000. Refresh. Okay, Cisco USA Civil. For I have fixed my year, financial year 23. I have fixed my jobs as project and my department as 101 field operations. Now, after fixing all of the POVs, I have used an SLN function. SLN is a syntax. SLN is a syntax which assumes that a set depreciates by the same amount each period. That is SLM method. More than one asset may be depreciated over the range. The value is depreciated from its entry period to the last period in the range. The resulting value represents the sum of all the per period depreciation values of each asset being depreciated. Okay. Now syntax here used is SLN cost member. Let me show you how I have used the business rule. Here 17910 is my depreciation account is equal to, suppose 17910 is accumulated depreciation of machinery. So depreciation of machinery equals to @SLN. Then I have given the member name of the machinery into a comma, the salvage member, salvage cost, that is 0. 60 is the time period for which the asset gonna last, that is life, and the January to December is the range of period which I wanna create, which I for which I want to calculate my business rule. So this is how SLN function works, and for all the depreciations I have given formula, and then let's move on to the application and let me show you how I have given the business rule. So system view, okay, EPM, and so here I have already written the business rule and validated the same, deployed it, and launched. Okay, the business rule has been launched successfully. Now when I will go to my um, capex sheet, suppose this is my requirement sheet. My data for the machinery equipment is 5 lakhs, and for non-core equipment is 1 lakh. For shipping tools, it's 4 lakh, and furniture fixture is 2,50,000. So when I will calculate business rule, launch, okay, refresh, wait a minute, let me see the POV, okay, 4 lakhs and 2,50,000. submit the data, calculate business rule, and let's see the okay, I have mentioned the wrong entity. Refresh. 5 lakhs, 1 lakh, 4 lakh, and 2,50,000. Submit data, calculate business rule. I hope it gets calculated. Refresh. See, the data came right here, है ना? Now let's check with the same refresh. See, now when we see the variance here is, we do have variance here. We have variance variance of 90,000 in the non-core equipment. That's the writing mistake which I have done right now. Let's change it. Here I have written 10,000 instead of 1 lakh. Submit data and calculate business rule, and then we'll see the variance would be 0. Launch. Refresh. Alright, now let's move on to our checking sheet. Refresh, and let's see the variance. See, now variance is 0. This is how we do capital expenditure forecast assumption planning in our PBCS application. And this is how we create advanced rules. You need to remember various syntax while creating a business rule. This would be helpful. And this was it for today. Thank you so much. For further more queries, please ask in the comment section below. Thank you so much.